In the last weeks and months, we interviewed candidates for different roles in our company. And it was just insane to see and observe what some of these people do and say in these interviews. In this video, I'm covering 4 tips for crucial mistakes which I have observed other people to do quite frequently in these kind of job interviews, and I'd like to discuss them to help you avoid these mistakes when you are interviewing for new roles. Hi guys, my name is Heinrich. Welcome to another coffee break with Firm Learning. I hope you're having all a great day. Today I was sitting again and still in my home office here in Munich, and while I was working on different tasks, I was reflecting a bit on the last weeks and months. Because in our company, and as some of you know, I left consulting about half a year ago, and now I joined a retail company in Germany and I have a CTO role in this company. So in our company in the last weeks and months, we interviewed different candidates for several roles. And now reflecting on that, it was just crazy, right? So while we had some amazing candidates that really fit the roles well, we had also some candidates which did or said things which I just cannot believe that these people said that. So I reflected a bit on that and I tried to come up with a bit of a condensate of that, right? So what were the top 4 mistakes that these people were doing in the interview? And apparently these people didn't realize that these were things which probably didn't come across very well, because otherwise they wouldn't have done it. And I want to help you to avoid these mistakes, that you do not do these mistakes. If this is the first time that you're watching my channel, just let me briefly introduce myself to you. My name is Heinrich, and on this channel I try to help you be successful in the first years of your career. So it doesn't matter if you're a fresh college graduate or you're already in the first years of your career. This channel is all about tips and tricks, what you can do to help you become a professional and develop yourself both from the private but also from the work perspective. So if you like any of the content on this channel at all, please press the like button for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe to my channel below in order that you get all the new videos that I will release. And of course also please hit the notification bell to make sure you're not missing out. So 4 crucial mistakes that I have observed these job candidates do. Let's start with the first one. So this is a lack of commitment and investment from the side of the candidate. So what exactly do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you talk to the candidate and if you interview them, there are just some people when you just directly sense that you are just one of many companies on his list that probably is interviewing with 3 or 4 companies at the same time. And in the end, he doesn't really care where exactly he works. There are no really hard reasons why he would prefer your company over the other. And in the end, probably the only thing that would matter to him is either the salary or maybe some other benefits, but he does not really care for your company. And this especially becomes obvious when you realize that he didn't do any basic research at all about your company. The bare minimum that you need to prepare if you interview for a company is to at least have some basic stats of the company in your head, right? So what is roughly the revenue that the company is making? How many employees do they have? In what geographies do they operate? So this is the bare minimum of research and commitment that you need to show in order for us as interviewers to make it clear that you really want the job. And of course this is especially easy if you work for a publicly traded company, because for these companies there are annual reports that you can just flip through and you will easily get all these key stats. But even if it's not a publicly traded company, there are many other sources of information that you can use. So of course, on the one hand side, you can just look for the company website or any infos on there. But even if the company doesn't have such a website or doesn't provide these kinds of information on it, in most countries there are some type of commercial registers where you can just pull these kind of information. In Germany, there's the Handelsregister. You can just look into bundesanzeiger.de. It's a publicly available internet site in Germany. And then you just type in the name of the company and the latest annual reports that are filed from this company will be available there. So even if it's not a publicly traded company, but an LTD or an LLC, or in Germany a GmbH, you will get these kind of basic financial information on the company. And of course, this might give you also important insights as a recruit. From my perspective, it would seem very important if you look into joining a company to understand what the financial situation is in which the company is in. Is it doing well? Is it not doing well? If it's not doing really well, what are the reasons? Why is it not doing well? How does this might affect your position that you want to start in? So do this basic research and then show your interviewer that you did this research to give both sides some kind of comfort. Now, talking about some positive examples, what can you actually do in order to really show some commitment and investment into the company? So what one of the candidates, for instance, did that we interviewed is he visited several of our stores and he also made an order in our online shop to get a feel of what the experience is when buying with us, both online and offline. And he was able to, in the interview, give us quite a few tangible feedback points on what his experience are and what he would potentially recommend to improve. And as he was also looking to work in a sales-related role, of course, this made perfect sense. And this showed us that this guy is serious. I mean, he already did some effort to understand what he could improve. He already showed us that he has the stamina to really go there, do some test orders, go out, visit stores. And this already put him far ahead of some other applicants who did not even research the most basic information on our company. So do some research, invest prior to coming to the interview in terms of money or time to show the people that you are serious, that you really want the job and are willing to go an extra mile to get there and to provide and add value for the company. A second very big mistake, a second very big red flag, a big mistake that many candidates do is to not show any empathy, to not show any self-reflection in these interviews. So very frequently interviews will consist of some kind of questions of the type that they ask you to walk the interviewer through maybe a difficult problem you faced in your professional life, a special challenge that you had in your professional life before, just to get a feel of what type of challenges you were already confronted with in the past, and then also how you react to these kind of situations. And I get the feeling that some candidates think that they should avoid at all costs showing any kind of weakness, any kind of doubt when answering these kind of questions. But this often then leads to an answer that sounds like this, with the candidate pretty much saying that there were these very tough and serious issues that I was facing and all these other people around me, they were clueless, they had no idea, they were idiots, right? But I'm then the big hero and I walked in and I solved everything and I came up with this great solution, right? And the reason why these kind of answers do not work or are not good answers is because they do not show that you have empathy. They do not show that you have self-reflection, that you can put yourself into the shoes of your colleagues, of other partners, and understand what they are thinking, what their emotions are. Because the truth is, especially when facing tough and challenging problems, it's not black and white. Some other people might behave very counterintuitive to you. It might be very difficult for you to understand why they are behaving in a certain way. But if you try to put yourself in their shoes and try to understand what they are feeling, what they are thinking, then this often enables you to understand their perspective and then also jointly collaborate on a solution to a certain problem. And these kind of team-oriented problem-solving skills are highly important in a lot of modern work environments. And the reason why this is so important is that today leaders need to have empathy. It is really difficult to build followers in an organization, to build a tribe of people that really supports you if you do not have empathy, if you are not able as a leader to also help them, encourage them, enable them. And all of this requires empathy and self-reflection. And make sure that in your answers to these kind of challenge-oriented or problem-oriented questions, you show that you have this empathy. This is just so important. The third big mistake that many people are doing is bad-mouthing their old employer. And I get it, it's okay, right? There is often a reason why you left your old job. Maybe you quit the position or maybe your employer quit you. And often this can leave you with some bad feelings. And of course, if asked, it's completely fine to maybe also mention a few points why you disliked your prior role and what motivated you now to make the transition. This is of course absolutely fine, no problem about that. But then we had some candidates, and not only one but several of them, who who went just on and on and on, just talking bad about their prior situation, how all of their colleagues, all of these other people just didn't get it, making it sound like they were pretty much the only intelligent person in the room, describing all kinds of problems at the prior employer and how they were the ones who realized it, but apparently everybody else around them did not realize it. And this type of behavior is bad for two reasons. First, it just makes you look like a very negative person. If I'm looking for colleagues to work with, I do not want to have a colleague who is just complaining about everybody and everything all day long. I want some positivity around me. And of course, it's okay to also make some critical remarks, but this always needs to be in a context and not just out of a habit of complaining all the time. So this is the first reason. But the second reason comes back to another video that I did. It's called the video Problem Solver, Problem Talker. And I will include it above me that you can check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But it describes how a person can either be a problem talker or a problem solver. And I do not want to go into all the details right now, but if you're a person who just complains or makes it look like you got it all right, you understood it all, but just all these other people around you didn't, this very much makes you look like a problem talker. And for reasons I explained in this other video, what companies need and want are problem solvers. Because the truth is, the likelihood is pretty high that all the problems that you are describing about your old employer, there's a high chance that you would have had some opportunity to do something about them, right? So if all these things were going wrong, what was your contribution in your old company to fix it, to make it better? And again, the truth is usually much more complex than you being the intelligent star who understood it all and wanted to do your best, but you just couldn't. Show that you solved these problems, that you tried your best to really add value and make an impact, and don't just explain all day long about what other people were doing wrong. And my last mistake is regarding body language and perceived energy level. It is just important to understand that how you are perceived as a candidate is of course driven on the one hand side by what you say, but also on the other side how you say it, what your body language is when you say it. And just let me try to imitate it. There were job candidates who were just making themselves small, who were sitting like this in their chairs, and some of them said some really intelligent things. But if you just say it by talking in a very monotonous voice, by talking with a very quiet voice, if you just make yourself small like this is just not how you are perceived well. It might be alright what you say, it might make total sense, but you seem like a person who cannot articulate yourself well, who probably has a problem with being perceived with some kind of authority in front of other people, who will probably have a hard time persuading other colleagues, which is of course an important business skill, and also is then perceived with a low energy level. And of course this always comes down to personality as well. There are some people just naturally have a higher energy level than others, and this is completely fine. But what you usually do not want as an employer, to have somebody on an extreme who just sits there, makes himself small and just radiates a very low energy level. What you actually want as an employer is somebody who just walks there with lots of energy, somebody who looks like he can tackle 10 new problems every day and can just move mountains, right? And of course now I'm exaggerating a bit, but this is what you're looking out for as an employer. So at least try to make your best impression in the job interview. And even if you are a bit of an introvert, this is completely okay, of course. So no problem with that. But try to at least show some personality in the interview, show that you have some energy in you, that you can move things, that you are a mover and shaker, so that you help your potential future employer see this kind of energy in you and see this ability of yours to really tackle things, go in there and also go into a fight if required. So these were the 4 mistakes. So let me just reiterate and repeat. So the first is not showing any kind of commitment and investment, not showing some kind of research that you did. What you need to do is show that you researched the company, that you know the details, that you maybe went the extra mile, maybe called the hotline in a B2B company, looked into a sales demo to understand the product, maybe did a test order, whatever the product is of your company. Show that you did an investment, that you really want to work for the company and add some value for the company. Second, especially for leadership roles, show that you have empathy and the ability to self-reflect. Portray yourself as a leader who tries to make an effort to understand what other people think and feel, because if you cannot do that, you will struggle. And this is something that many employers will look out for. Third, don't express too much negativity. Don't go on and on criticizing your old employer, just talking how bad everything was and how other people just didn't get it. Show some positivity. People do not want to be surrounded by negativity all day long, so don't be perceived as a negative person. And last but not least, look out for your body language and your perceived energy level. Show that you have the energy to tackle difficult tasks, and don't make yourself smaller than you are, and don't talk with a quiet and monotonous voice, because this usually will not help you. So what I can just tell you, now having interviewed several candidates in the last weeks and months, if you will do all these things in your next job interview, I can promise you that you are a significant step ahead of many other job candidates out there. So I hope this makes sense to you. Let me know what you think in the comments. What are your tips and tricks for job interviews? What were situations that you were confronted with in your past? If you have a question about a difficult situation that you maybe had in the past and you would like to have my perspective on that, let me know in the comments and I'll try to give you an answer. And if you took any value out of this video at all, please press the like button for the YouTube algorithm to help other people discover this video as well. And please subscribe to my channel and also hit the notification bell to see more videos like that. And as some of you already know, I also have a course on how to create PowerPoint presentations like top consulting firms do. Check out the link into the description to this course. There are already over 10,000 students who take it. In the link you will see lots of reviews, so have a look for yourself whether this is something that might be of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching. I will release at least one video every week on Saturdays on this channel, so stay tuned. Thanks again for watching. I'm Heinrich from Firm Learning and have a good day.